Hello, welcome to my channel, and I'm going to do another one of the soft-spoken reading video because that seems to be the one you guys enjoy the most. And I'm going to continue back with the haunting stories of wolves and ghouls because that's the only book I have right now, and I'm going to do the reading from the story called The Staircase. On a dark January day in 1850, Joseph Hale's wife Isabel died after a short illness, and her sudden death so affected him that the house they had been so happily in for nearly 10 years seemed ugly and unfriendly. The beautiful courtside of North Lancashire, through which they had walked and taken pleasant drives, appeared harsh and cold. Not even the appealing ways of his 4 children could console him. He knew that the only way for him to regain his peace of mind was by moving away from all the places that had associations with Isabel, and by starting life again in new surroundings. After long search, Mr. Hale decided to buy a large two-door mansion near the Midland of Stafford, and lost no time in arranging to move his family, servants, and belongings there. The children arrived by coach soon after the task of moving in had started, and when they had clambered down, they stared open-mouthed at the warm red brick building with its twisted chimneys and mullioned windows. Clarissa, who was 8 and the eldest, ran up to her father, who was supervising the unloading of the furniture, and pulled at his sleeve. "Papa," she began. Mr. Hale gently disengaged himself from her eager grip. "Not now, child," he said. "I'm very busy. You must keep out of everybody's way for a while." "May we explore the house?" she asked. "Oh, Papa, may we?" Mr. Hale smiled and patted her head. "Certainly, as long as you take good care of the little ones. Don't be away for long," he called after her, watching her skipping away with the 7-year-old John and with Edward and Emma, the twins who were nearly 5. "I promise," Clarissa called back, and soon the 4 children, after examining with interest the huge wooden doors studded with nails and carved with leaves and flowers, had disappeared into the house. The large hall was semicircular. From the middle of the crescent, a corridor led to the back of the house, and on the either side, an imposing staircase rose in an elegant curve to a wide gallery, and then to the upper floors. For a moment, the children gazed in awe at the unaccustomed grandeur. Then John ran ahead of the others. "Come, Ressa, let's climb the stairs," he called. Clarissa, feeling very grown up and having the younger children entirely in her charge, was about to protest that she must lead the way. But John was already halfway up, so she had to follow, holding tightly on to the chubby hands of Edward and Emma. John, who had already reached the gallery, was opening one door after another and peering into the room. "Ressa, it's as big as a castle," he exclaimed. "It's more like a palace," said Clarissa, remembering the fairy tales she had read. "And it's empty, and all ours." Suddenly the children caught each other's excitement, and caution went with the wind. John laughed. "Follow me," he demanded, pushing open another door and darting into the room. From that room a door led to another, and from that a staircase took them to another wing of the house. Along corridor after corridor they hurried, the twins having to trot to keep up with Clarissa and John, who behaved as if they had to enjoy their new house before it vanished. The rooms began to get smaller and the corridors narrower. Festoons of cobweb hung before them, and mice scuttled away at their approach. Clarissa's eagerness to explore began to ebb. The twins were both tired and their feet were dragging, and it was only because John had plunged ahead determinedly, heedless of any request to turn back, that the others reluctantly carried on. "What games of hide and seek we shall have," he said, turning down yet another passage. And this is how the corridor looks, just so you may know. At the end of it, the children stopped. John turned to his sister. "It's a blank wall," he declared. "We can't go any farther." "Good," Clarissa said feelingly. "Now perhaps we can turn back." She examined the paneling more thoroughly, curious in spite of having had enough of exploring, and suddenly pointed to a tiny knob of wood that did not seem to fit in with the pattern of the carving. "I wonder what that is." "Let me see." John pushed her aside. "It's rather strange, isn't it?" He poked at it with his forefinger and gave a startled cry when a door in the paneling silently slid back to reveal a spiral staircase leading off to a narrow stone landing, twisting upwards and downward out of their sight. "A secret staircase," he breathed. "We must explore this. Shall we go out down?" "Oh no," Clarissa wailed. "John, don't. Let's go back." "We can't go back now. We might not find this again. I'm going up, whatever the rest of you may do." John stuck his hands on his hip and glared at his sister. Clarissa sighed. There was no arguing with John when he was in one of his determined moods. He would go, whatever she said, and she did not relish the thought of telling her father that she had left him alone on a secret staircase and hearing him say, "Clarissa, I'm disappointed in you. You were supposed to be in charge." So she gave a little gulp of apprehension. "Very well, I suppose we'd better come off with you, but I shall tell father how naughty you've been." Stealthily, they've climbed the worn stone steps. There was no handrail, and they had to feel their way by the rough surface of the wall. At intervals, a narrow slit in the stonework let in a little light, and they realized that the staircase must be next to an outside wall. Eventually, they reached the top and stood on the landing. There was another door in front of them. John pushed it open, and they entered the room, their feet echoing hollowly on the bare wooden floor. The only window, high in the wall, was all but boarded over, and in the gloom they did not at first notice that the room was round and the ceiling rose to a point. "It's a turret room," Clarissa whispered. "We're right at the top of the house." She did not know why she felt so uneasy. The room contained no furniture. There was nothing in it to frighten them. Yet there was something about it, something cold and eerie in the atmosphere, that made her wish that all her heart that they were back in the security of their father's presence. Even John's high spirit had deserted him. White-faced, he sidled close to his sister, and the twins huddled together in the shelter of her arms. In utter silence they stood, expecting they knew not what, staring around them at the perfectly ordinary walls and floors, yet aware that the room was not ordinary. It was empty now, but was it always empty? Had they disturbed Clarissa failed to put her thoughts into words and miserably wondered how would they ever break the spell that rooted them to the floor. It was Edward who managed to bring them back to normality. "I'm hungry," he announced. "I'm going back to Papa." Dear Edward, Clarissa thought. His stomach was always more important than anything else. She drew a deep breath and found that she was not afraid anymore. "What a good idea," she said briskly. "I'm sure we could all do with something to eat. I'll lead the way down and soon we'll be back with Papa." She felt her way down the steps of the secret staircase as quickly as she dared, the others laughing and chattering quickly behind her now that the tension had gone. Down and down they went. The staircase seemed endless. Surely, Clarissa thought in a moment of panic, we didn't come up this number of stairs. The wall seemed to be closing in on them. It was quite dark now, and she realized that there were no more slits in the wall to provide the silvers of light that had helped them to find the way up to the turret room. Suddenly, she stopped dead in her tracks, and behind her, the other halted abruptly. "Why have you stopped?" John complained. "You should have warned us. I've trotted on Edward's foot." But Clarissa did not answer him. She was staring at a figure that had materialized out of the darkness and was standing there in front of her, just visible as a faint white glimmer. It moved slowly forward, and she saw that it was a woman who was making an urgent gesture with one hand, as if she were trying to push the children away from her. It was not a threatening movement, more of a warning. "Don't come any farther," it seemed to say. Clarissa first thought that was one of the new servants, had lost as they were, but there was something about the woman that was very familiar, and as Clarissa peered at her intently, she knew that it was not a servant. She gave a wild cry. "Mama! It's Mama!" There was a moment of stunned silence. Then the four children turned as one and began to stumble up the stairs quickly as they could. Clarissa was last, pushing out her hands blindly, grazing her shins and barking her elbows in the desperate effort to get away from the white figure. "I've seen Mama," she whimpered. "Mama was there and was waving us back. Oh, please hurry." John reached the landing they had started out from and saw the sliding door they had missed on the way down from the turret room. "Here it is," he panted. "This way." They found their father still occupied with the workmen and rushed at him. "Now, Clarissa, I told you not to interrupt her work and—" he began, then saw their ashen faces. "Whatever is the matter, my darlings?" Clarissa hurled herself on him and burst into tears. "I've seen Mama at the top of a dark staircase. But Mama is dead. Oh, Papa, what does it mean? Are we all going to die?" Mr. Hale concealed the shock that Clarissa's words had given him, though his eyes darkened with pain. "Pull yourself together, my dear, and tell me exactly what happened." Clarissa faltered out her story. At the end of it she said wonderingly, "Papa, she looked so kind and gentle, just as she used to. But she was worried too, and she waved us back. She didn't want us to get any nearer to her. Why did she want us to keep away? What do you think?" "I don't know," Mr. Hale said, "but you may be sure that she did not mean to harm you. You know how much she loved you all. I'm sure she only appeared for your good. Will you take me to where you saw her?" Clarissa swallowed, then nodded. "I'll come too, Papa," John said. "I didn't see Mama the first time. Perhaps she'll come to us again." Mr. Hale sighed. "Don't count on it, my boy." He called for a lamp and followed Clarissa and John as they retraced their tracks, finally arriving at the sliding door that led to the spiral staircase. With the warm light from the lamp making the descent easier, then they soon reached the bottom of the steps. "It was here that I saw Mama," Clarissa whispered. There was no ghostly figure waiting for them this time, however. When Mr. Hale had lifted up the lamp and looked in the direction of Clarissa's pointing finger, he gave a cry of horror. Only a meter from where they stood was a wide, open, and well looking down. Mr. Hale could just see the black, oily water waiting to receive and engulf anyone who might in the darkness have taken one step forward. Mr. Hale hastily pulled back the children back to safety. He shuddered when he realized how easily they might have all been plunged to their death in that dark abyss. If it had not been for the spirit of their mother standing at the brink, warning them not to go forward, he would never have seen them again and would have never known what had happened to them. They would have disappeared without trace. "Thank you, Isabel," he murmured, and led the children away from the horror into the simple ordinariness of everyday life. Well, I really liked this story, and I hope that you liked my narration. If you have any more suggestions or support, then please do give me so. I will see you later. Bye.